We're now going to go in depth into section 7 of our tutorial, and this is going to be some major design. So you're going to hear a lot of babbling from me as I go through all the components of Adobe Illustrator to give you an example of a logo. And in order to do that, we're going to need to use some of the tools that we covered and everything else. Now, where we left off, we had this, and I guess it just so happens that, well, we have the flowers there, so we can use the flowers as an example to make a flower. Maybe not as intricate as this, but let's say we're working on a logo for a flower shop or something like that. So we'll just call it, right now we can just actually call it flowers. Flowers plus. Okay. Now we'll just leave that up over here and we'll concentrate on how are we going to make a flower in Illustrator. So what are the elements of the flower and what are we going to have to make here? Well, we have a round circle in there with some things, more circles up in here of different color, and we have petals, we have some back petals. Now we're probably not going to make that many petals, and we will make an original unique flower. Whether it's an actual flower or not, I'm not sure, but we'll take it as it goes. Let's zoom in here a little bit, maybe a little bit more, just so we can have a really good look at this flower. And we can have a little design area over here for our own flower. So maybe we'll lock this layer over here so it doesn't move. We'll create our own new layer and call it flower 1. Okay, we can just basically work off this layer and it's going to put everything into its sub layers, and we can start with a circle. So going and grabbing our right click, our ellipse tool, we can draw out a circle and we can maybe start with a black fill just like that. So shift, circle, let go, and you have that. Okay. Now, on top of that, we have other elements there, but let's focus on a petal first of all. Now, I can trace over this petal, or I can make my own, which I think in this case I'm going to make my own. And we're just going to start by line drawing all this. So I'm going to get rid of the fill, which I will set to nothing, which is this right here, none. And then I'm going to go to the stroke. I'm going to set that as black, or I could just go over here and just go 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, enter, and we have a black stroke, which is going to give us the line drawing. We'll start all of this out as black and white. Now we'll focus on the petals here. You can keep your ellipse tool and just draw an ellipse out like that. That could be a really good representation of a petal, and we'll use that. So copy, paste, and you'll see it's going to paste out another petal for us. Okay, we can paste that again. We'll have 3. Now from there, 3, we'll keep pasting. Say, we'll do 8. Now that we have all of our petals there, it's just a matter of aligning them the way we want to align them. And we can scatter them for right now all over the stage or the artboard. And let's start by just taking this one, putting it right in the middle there, and then we'll take this one down here, put that right in the middle. And remember, this circle here is going to have a fill. which will be over top of the petals, so you're not going to see any of that. So those don't have to be aligned, they can be anywhere. If you want them to be aligned and be really technical about it, that's good too. And you can always use the align tool for those sorts of things. But if you want more natural, then this is a perfect way also. You'll notice how it turns into, the arrow turns into two little arrows on there. Just allows me to stick it sideways. If I shift that while moving, it's going to perfectly align it sideways for me, like that. Okay? And then other shortcuts, let's say we just take that, we'll get rid of it by backspacing it, and take that, edit, copy. If we go paste in place, it's going to stick it on top. We shift, arrow key over. The shifting and arrow key doubles it for us. And there you go. That's going to give us a start of our foundation for a flower. You know, sometimes we might get carried away with the copy pasting thing with items that we don't need, but you can always select that, shift, 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 click shift, and I have those selected, and I can just cut those out. Now, if I take these and I copy, paste in place, then the ones that I just pasted, I can move those. And as you can see, I can align them the way I want within that. Now, if I edit, paste in place again, I can then turn that around into there. Now, each of these petals has its own property. Let's go undo for a second there, undo the rotate on that, because I wasn't quite happy with how that turned out. But that's more like it. And if we do just one more and we turn it back this way, then we should have the complete flower done for us. And it'll look like that. Okay, right now we have the base of our flower here. We have all our petals out like that. And if you go in and just select your petals, if you shift and click and select your petals, then you can apply the properties to all of the petals at once while they're selected. And what we'll do is we're going to take this out from black and white wired drawing to a fill. And we're going to give it a fill, and there's a good chance we'll just leave the stroke on it for now. But if we go into the fill, double click, we can pick almost any color we want, and we're up into like the pinks, which is nice. Give that an OK, and it's going to fill it in like that for us. So far so good. Let's just drop down our menu here, and we're going to want to find the initial eclipse we laid down, which is here. And we can't see it because it's on the bottom, so we're going to want to bring that all the way up to the top into its first layer, and it appears right there. We click on that, we can give it a fill, and we're going to go with let's do a white fill on that. So far so good. And while we're here, let's just take every second petal with a shift click every second petal, and we're going to drop in a darker color for every second petal over here, because we want that to somewhat represent a contrast in background. Okay? And while we're at it, let's get rid of its stroke, just so we have that. And then I think we're going to get rid of the rest of the strokes on the petals, and we can keep the middle as is right now. But there you go. That gives us a contrast of the back and front petals. Maybe we can even take every second one of those while we're at it, just for the fun of it, and make those even a little lighter, which will give it a third dimension? I don't know. But there you go. That's an idea. We can take the stroke off this, And now we can maybe make something along those lines. Let's use the ellipse tool again while we're here, and we'll just use the stroke to get maybe something like that. And we'll use the line weight to accomplish that. So if we pick a color for our stroke, we can go into maybe something more of a yellow down here, make it look more like a flower, and we'll set its line weight to at least 5. Now we'll draw a little one out, and then we'll just pick it up and go and put it down. You can see how it's going to snap into its place or into its grid, and even if it doesn't, you can move it over with the arrows and align it. You can either eyeball it or you can align it to the object. If I wanted to do that, I would grab the white circle, I would shift, I would grab the circle I just made, then I'd go back up into my aligns. I'm going to align it to the objects, vertical alignment and horizontal alignment, and if I do that, they are perfectly in line. Now I can see we've got some polygons going on there. Let's grab those, right click, polygon tool. We have fill is what we want, and here is your eyedropper tool. Click on it, click on the color we want, click, boom, turns it right into that color. Now, using our polygon, we do a shift and we'll just do a little one, just like so. Okay, and maybe what we can do while we're here, we'll just copy, paste, 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 and then we can take those, whoops, we can undo that, undo, okay, and we just take that, take that, take that, and we drag it over and maybe just shrink one up a little bit, maybe make one a little larger. Let's shrink this really small, because of course we're doing this on the fly. We're kind of in a rush to design this flower. It really doesn't have to be perfect at this point. These are ideas, we're brainstorming, we're working things out. Now, if I take this, shift, click, 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 copy and paste it again, paste in place, let's just give it a slight rotation. And as you can see, what's happening over here is it's attempting to select my other layers. And if I wasn't so precise with this, then I could very well have grabbed those layers and misalign them and mess them up. But over here you have lock. So if you're worried about that, you just lock it. And let's just arrow this to get some misalignment so it looks kind of different. Maybe we can stretch it over like that. Along those lines, we can even take one, put it over here. Let's just go with that for now. And our white seems to be okay, but we can get into that after. Now that if we want to select this circle, make it a different background color, we can also do that too. Because we know that's the stroke and the fill, let's just give it something different. Maybe a greenish? Okay. There we go. Okay, that's going to work for us there. Okay, now I don't want to be a perfectionist. I just want to take my flower and I want to run with it here. So what we have on the stage and what we're going to be doing is let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. And let's zoom back out to 100% and aspect ratio 100%, right? Okay, this is what you're going to see if, let's say, you export it out as a JPEG. Okay, this is the size, this is the aspect ratio of your design. Put it out of its aspect ratio, you're good to go. This is all vector, right? So you're not going to have to worry about any pixelation or anything like that. Adobe Illustrator, yes. Okay, so back to 100% aspect ratio. I just want to group this flower. I want to group it up. As I said before, I don't want to be a perfectionist. I could sit here for hours and make it like a realistic flower, but this is for a tutorial. So I'm going to group it. And when I group it, it turns it all into one flower. Okay, so then I click off of it and I can then in turn go and move this flower around as one. I can resize it. So I'm going to resize it down just a touch because why? I don't know. I like to do that. Resizing it down just a little bit. Actually, now if I undo my move, I can just go in and I can actually see before I've done the scale where we sit on this design. Now, okay, I can see my things sticking out here. They're a little hard to see, so I might want to change the color later, but that's okay. We don't really need to worry about that. We'll keep it as is. Focus on a little bit of text here. Because these are ideas, nothing is written in stone, and we're just doing this on the fly, we can experiment. We can use some fonts that I have available to myself, which are thousands of them. I use the Adobe Creative Suite. It provides me with a lot of fonts. I might want to make my own font. I've discussed this before about font generators and how you can actually just trace out and draw your own fonts and have them done. Or you can take whatever you'd like and build on those. For me, I'm looking for something fancy, and in writing, maybe something along those lines would work for me. Placement, well, right now, placement, we're good to go wherever we'd like because this is just an experiment. And hey, that looks kind of nice. Maybe we'd like to take all that and maybe we'd like to group it. Okay, then we can just move it all around like that. Effects, you can always add effects. Those are nice. Up here we have your effects button. Click on it and there's all sorts of different things you can put as far as effects go. From your blurs, artistic, brush strokes, distort, but it goes on. Your textures, which play around with them. Click on the buttons. Some of the nicest designs I've made have just been by mistake by clicking on the wrong button. That has brought me into something fantastic. So check those out. That's where your effects lay. For now, we have what is. It's a Flower Plus logo with a flower. In the next section, we're going to get in depth into things like finalizing the logo and sending drafts, client feedbacks, and quoting for logo design projects. That's coming up in section 8.